In 1980, the University of South Alabama was a quiet academic community where students often left their dorm rooms unlocked. At the time, campus security was primarily tasked with handling parking violations. Katherine Foster was an 18-year-old physical therapy student who spent her free time volunteering at her local church. Investigators looking into her background found a model student whose life was entirely devoid of high-risk behavior or dangerous connections. But on a Saturday morning, a campus search party discovered Katherine's body in a wooded area just 150 feet from a paved road. She had been executed with 2 gunshots to the back of the head. The crime scene offered no immediate motive. Her clothing was not in disarray, ruling out sexual assault, and her belongings were found with her, eliminating robbery as a factor. Without behavioral clues or clear motives, investigators were forced to rely on a biological timeline. To find a suspect, they needed the medical examiner to pinpoint exactly when Katherine had been killed. Inside the morgue, the forensic tools of 1980 were focused on macroscopic observations. Pathologists relied on the onset of rigor mortis and the gradual loss of body temperature to estimate how long a person had been deceased. They also looked for insect activity. Blowflies find a body almost immediately after death to lay their eggs, providing a predictable biological clock for investigators. Because Katherine's body showed no signs of insect infestation and still retained some residual heat, the medical examiner estimated she had been dead for 8 to 20 hours. Legally, this placed the murder on Friday night or early Saturday morning. This conclusion immediately changed the trajectory of the case. Katherine's best friend, Jamie, was cleared as a suspect because she had last seen Katherine on Thursday morning, well before the estimated window of death. For years, detectives chased leads that fit the Friday timeline. They interrogated a grieving boyfriend and a campus security guard who had become obsessed with the autopsy reports. Every lead resulted in a dead end. A single biological assumption had created a 24-hour blind spot in the investigation. By focusing on Friday, the official record had granted the true killer an airtight alibi for decades. 20 years later, a tip emerged from a local Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. A woman attempted to make amends for a crime she claimed to have committed decades earlier. The woman was Jamie Letson, Katherine's former best friend. She confessed to luring Katherine into the woods and shooting her, driven by an obsessive jealousy over a shared romantic interest. However, Jamie's confession contained a massive contradiction. She claimed the murder happened on Thursday. The official forensic file still insisted the victim had died on Friday. A jury cannot convict if a confession is disproven by the physical evidence. Detectives had to determine if Jamie was lying to gain attention or if the 1980 forensic conclusion was simply wrong. Investigators returned to the original archives, searching for any microscopic data that might have been overlooked during the initial investigation. They discovered a forgotten, handwritten note from 1980. It detailed the results of a vitreous potassium test that had never been officially integrated into the final timeline. After death, potassium inside the eye's cells leaks into surrounding fluid at a measurable rate. Plotting this chemical leakage, detectives reanalyzed the 1980 data, revealing a time of death 44 hours before discovery. This hidden chemistry moved the time of death back to Thursday. For the first time, the physical evidence corroborated Jamie's confession, proving the original visual timeline was flawed. One question remained. If Katherine died on Thursday, why were there no insects on her body by Saturday? To find the answer, investigators consulted the University of Tennessee's body farm. Researchers placed a donor body in an environment mimicking the Alabama woods where Katherine was found, monitoring it for 48 hours. They identified a specific environmental variable, high winds. Strong gusts in the woods had physically prevented blowflies from landing on the body to lay their eggs. The wind had acted as a natural barrier to colonization. This explained why no insects were present on Saturday, and why the body remained superficially fresh despite lying in the woods since Thursday. The resolution of the case demonstrated the difference between the limited observations of the past and the precision of modern experimental science. This diagram compares the 2 eras of the investigation. The top line shows how 1980s methods landed on Friday, while the bottom line shows how chemical and environmental data pushed the marker back to Thursday, finally aligning with the confession. With a scientifically validated timeline, police arrested Jamie Letson 30 years after the crime. She was convicted and sentenced to life in prison. By preserving historical data and applying new forensic rigor, investigators ensured that the facts eventually caught up with the truth. Science provided the final correction to a 30-year error.